really hate living next to this restaurant, yo. What up, you guys, and welcome back to my channel, Ilum Reads, or if you are new here, welcome to my very messy channel. My name is Will, and today I want to talk to you about why I love fantasy books and some recommendations. Okay, first and foremost, please excuse this thumping bass that is happening right outside of my office window. I'll try to fix it in editing. Anyway, I have absolutely loved this genre ever since that I was a little kid. And even though as a child I absolutely loathed reading, I have always been the type of kid that was always caught up in like some sort of fantasy world. Mostly it was due to my own imagination. I was one of those kids that always kept to himself. I lived in my own little world. But one of the main and primary reasons as to why I love fantasy is because fantasy to me is the realm of the impossible. And by that I mean that an individual is able to step out of the real world and into a world of their choosing. Fantasy to me has always been a close escape, especially when dealing with this life and how chaotic it can absolutely be. There are many subgenres to fantasy. You have contemporary fantasy, you have urban fantasy, sci-fi fantasy, and so many options in between. I like to dabble in all of them. One of my absolute favorite types of fantasy would probably be contemporary fantasy because it mixes this world with the world of the impossible. A great example of that to me, and please no one get mad at me, this is only my opinion, would have to be the Harry Potter franchise. Harry Potter is actually the work that actually sparked my love of reading. I actually didn't start reading Harry Potter until I was in early adulthood after I graduated high school. A coworker of mine actually took me after work one day to go see Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. I honestly had no clue what was going on. However, the character of Dumbledore kind of like sparked this interest in me because his character arc actually sparked such an interest in me that I really had to know how everything ended and turned out. I am pretty sure that everyone knows the world of Harry Potter by now, or at least have heard of it. But basically Harry Potter follows that character trope of the chosen one who goes on a plethora of adventures to reestablish order within the magical world. One of the top things that I found very interesting, especially because the first couple of books within Harry Potter are considered children's books, is that the entire story opens up with the aspect of death. And to me, that is something, especially in America, that hasn't been found really in children's stories at all. And so that aspect sort of pulled me in immediately. And throughout the rest of the entire series, you see the topic of death come up over and over and over again. To this day, I am still very much in love with the story of the Harry Potter series. I actually watch the movies at least 5 times a year. I don't know, but yeah, this is my top favorite fantasy series ever. My next favorite fantasy series and a recommendation would have to be the Shadowhunter Chronicles by Cassandra Clare. Again, a quick backstory. I believe that the first book within the Shadowhunter Chronicles, The City of Bones within the Mortal Instruments series, actually came out in 2008. However, Cassandra Clare went back and wrote a prequel to the first 6 books, Clockwork Angel, and this set trilogy is called The Infernal Devices. Clockwork Angel was actually the first book that I read within the Shadowhunter Chronicles. During the very beginning, there really was no set way as to how you were supposed to read these or which series you were supposed to start with. Clockwork Angel is a period urban fantasy book, and this sets up the premise for a bunch of whole new characters, but it does follow a specific family timeline. The Infernal Devices are set within the Victorian era, and we follow the main protagonists, Tessa, Will, and Jem, as they first try to figure out who exactly Tessa is, what Tessa is, and where her brother is. We are introduced to the villain, Alexei Mortman, I believe that his name was. It's been a very long time since I read these books. But basically, Mortman is building these animatronic devices to overrun London and basically kill all shadowhunters. In a nutshell, there's a lot more that happens. Basically, what this first trilogy is very well known for is the love triangle between Tessa, Jem, and Will. Overall, within this prequel, Cassandra Clare basically sets up events that transpire throughout the rest of the entire Shadowhunter Chronicles. After I read the very first two books in the Infernal Devices, I went and picked up the first three within the Mortal Instrument series. There are 6 overall, and again, we follow a whole brand new set of characters. However, they are all linked to their past ancestors. Within the first set of the City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass, we first begin to follow the main protagonist, Clary, as she begins to find out who exactly she is and how she falls into the Shadowhunter world. We see that at first, Clary's mother tried to protect her from the Shadowhunter world, so she had her daughter's memories erased of every aspect about the Shadowhunters and who she is. However, each year, Clary and her mother have to go back and visit a well-beloved character, Magnus, to have those walls built back up within her mind to keep her mind sheltered. But Clary's mother is then kidnapped by the villain Valentine, who is seeking to overthrow the Shadowhunter world and create a brand new system. The entirety of the Shadowhunters is basically about these warriors who are descended from angels who fight a lot of politics. But what I love so much about Cassandra Clare and her books is the character development and the character arcs that she establishes throughout each and every single one of her books. Her books are very character driven. It drives the plot a lot. Yeah, this is seriously one of those series that I honestly do sort of push towards people because it is a series that is very good. There are quite a lot of books within the Shadowhunter Chronicles, and Cassandra Clare isn't even done writing them yet. The next series that I really enjoyed, I picked up this series back in 2018, and that series is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. Renegades follows the protagonist slash antagonist, Nova, who is a superpowered villain that seeks vengeance upon the Renegades for not coming to her and her family's aid during an early attempted and successful assassination. The entirety of the Renegades world is set within a world full of superheroes and supervillains alike. Renegades basically fed my nerd love of those typical superheroes who wear capes and go around flying about in cities. Such an embarrassment. However, following Nova's story was a deep and tragic situation. As stated, she is seeking revenge for the loss of her parents and her sister. She joins the ranks of the supervillains. I really can't remember what they were called. Oh my gosh! However, along the way, she goes to infiltrate the renegade stronghold to become like one of them and secretly take them down from the inside out. However, she meets a boy by the name of Adrian, who is the son of the main 2 leaders of the renegades, and she does begin to fall for him. Many of Nova's plans begin to go sideways as she attempts to regain a certain relic for her uncle, who is a telekinetic supervillain who has stated that he wants to help Nova get revenge for her parents. Renegades is a highly super packed trilogy of any lover of what I consider high fantasy. Okay, so these next 2 books are manga books, And we are really going back to my childhood here. And they are Sailor Moon and Cardcaptor Sakura. Both of these books are, as I said, manga fantasy, and these books and stories are possibly the main reason as to why I deeply love fantasy. It did begin with watching Sailor Moon in the early 1990s. For those of you who do not know, Sailor Moon follows the main protagonist, Usagi. In the early 1990s, she was renamed Serena for the Americanized anime, who is a reincarnated princess of the moon that fights justice by the moonlight. Back in 2018, I picked up the entire manga series because much of the early anime series was very different from how Naoko Takeuchi originally wrote this series. The manga series has proven to me to be a little bit darker than what the anime series originally was. It still follows that story of Sailor Moon fighting to regain her memories as the Moon Princess and being reunited with her soulmate Darien, aka Mamoru, on Earth after the events and the destruction of the Silver Millennium. Cardcaptor Sakura is another magical girl manga that follows Sakura, who is proven to be a magician who accidentally opens up an ancient book known as the Clow or Clo book, releasing all of these magical cards, and if not recaptured, will rain destruction upon the entire world. Much of Cardcaptor Sakura deals so much with relationships, self-confidence, and so much more in between. I actually have the clear card arc, the very first one. The clear card arc actually sets up the premise of how Sakura, now the new reigning Cloud Card Master, has to begin to understand as to why the Cloud Cards, later on renamed the Sakura cards, have now become clear. A lot of destruction begins to take on the world as she has to go about recapturing a whole set of brand new cards, and Sakura has no idea as to why. On top of that, someone very close to her is out to steal her magic. So much of this saga deals with a lot of mystery. It leaves you on the edge of your seat, constantly wondering what's going to happen next. There are a lot of secrets. There are a lot of backstories that tie into the present. And I do honestly recommend picking up and reading both of these stories. And that is all that I have to talk about in this video, and as to why I absolutely love fantasy. And those were some of my fantasy recommendations. If you guys have read any of these picks or anything like that, what were your thoughts? If not, what fantasy books do you absolutely love? What is your favorite subgenre? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please go ahead and hit that subscribe button to see more future content from me. And I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.